Hello and welcome to this special interview. I'm Roj Alizala in Rudolph, Washington studios. Last week, Genocide Watch, an organization dedicated to predicting and preventing genocides, released a genocide warning for the Kurds in the Middle East. The genocide warning states that the Kurds are at a risk of large-scale genocide by regional powers. Dr. Gregory Stanton, the president of Genocide Watch, is with me today to discuss this warning. Thank you very much, Dr. Stanton, for being with us. Genocide Watch has recently issued a warning. Before I ask you about that, actually, why don't you tell us about Genocide Watch? What does your organization do?
Sure. Genocide Watch was the first international anti-genocide organization. I started it in 1999, and at the same time started the Alliance Against Genocide, which Genocide Watch coordinates. And that alliance now has over 70 members all around the world of member organizations. And some of them are very large, much bigger than Genocide Watch. But our objective is to prevent genocide and to punish genocide when it has been committed. So we have played a major role in, for instance, putting together the Rwandan Tribunal. I was the one who wrote the UN resolutions that created that one. And also, especially for me, the Cambodian Tribunal, where I wrote the rules and had actually begun this work on genocide back in 1981 when I started the Cambodian Genocide Project when I was at Yale Law School. So punishment is certainly part of our job, but also genocide education. We do a lot of development with schools of curricula, and we also work on trying to reform the international institutions that are necessary to actually prevent genocide. And that means support for the creation of rapid response forces, and for us, this is very important, early warning mechanisms. And that's one of the main things now that Genocide Watch does. We tried, because we have developed understanding of how genocide develops, we issue genocide warnings, as we have just done for the situation of the Kurds.
So yeah, I believe the last one was on the genocide warning was on the situation of the Kurds. Why at this time? Why at this time a genocide warning is warranted?
We believe that the Kurds are in grave danger, not just from the usual forces. In this case, we think the biggest danger is coming from Turkey. It's pretty clear that Turkey wants to defeat Kurds who are they consider to be dangerous to the Turkish state. And as you know, there have been Kurds inside Turkey who have opposed the Turkish state for a long time and have demanded a certain amount of autonomy within Turkey. Well, President Erdogan of Turkey calls all of these people terrorists. And what we know about that term, terrorists, is it is a term of dehumanization. It's a term in which you say these people are really not, these are not fully human people. Right. We believe we should kill them. And that is a very common tactic now of dictators.
And also a stage in genocide, right?
It is. It's a stage in genocide.
Right. So the stages in genocide, they're multiple ones. I believe you were saying about 10 right, stages. At this time right now, if you characterize the Kurdish case, what stage would you say the Kurdish case is in?
I think we are already in genocide in the Kurdish case. All you have to do is look what happened in Afrin, and also some of the genocidal massacres that have occurred in southern Turkey. In Cizre, for instance, where they basically just destroyed the entire town. In Afrin, they circled it, they encircled the town, and then as many people as could tried to leave, but those who didn't have just been eliminated. So the aim is, by Turkey, in that region, in Afrin, to repopulate the entire area of Afrin with Turks, with Turkmen and other groups that they consider to be, not Kurds. And so that is genocide, what they're trying to do right there. It wasn't just forced displacement, because it included mass killing. And we've also seen it, as I say, in southern Turkey, in Cizre. We've seen it in other ways in Turkey where Kurds have been persecuted, and then we believe that the aim of the Turkish regime is to push all the way across into northern Iraq and to basically take over all of those areas where Kurds control the territory.
Which they have already taken over, I believe, close to 28 villages, and as
That's
you
right.
said, yeah.
And they've said, it's their intention. The interesting thing in this case is they're very open about their intentions.
Right.
They say, look, we're going to take Manjib. We're going to go all the way over to Sinjar, and we're going to take it. And part of the reason is because Rojava, the northern Syrian Kurdish entity that has become quite strong in there and has been crucial in defeating ISIS, along with the Peshmerga, of course, from Kurdistan. The Turks are very much afraid of these people because they realize they're such good fighters and they will defend their territory. So the Turks, which have the fourth largest army in the world, are now actually invading.
Right. So if we go back to the stages, and I also want to touch on patterns of
Sure.
of violence, and it's some of which suggest a microcosm for a larger genocide, right?
Sure.
Obviously, you mentioned some of the acts of aggression that has happened in Afrin and other regions. What other patterns do we see that really speak to a microcosm of a genocide?
Sure. Well, I'll give you a very quick run-through of what we have found to be the stages in every genocide that we have seen so far. It includes the Holocaust and, the Armenian genocide and the Rwandan genocide and all the others. There is a very clear pattern to these genocides, and the stages are not linear. That means they may occur simultaneously. But you first of all have to have classification into us versus them. You have symbolization, in which groups are named or even have symbols imposed on them. Different dress or different language is one of those things. You have discrimination as third, and then fourth, dehumanization. The fifth is where you actually have organization of groups that can carry out the killing and the genocide. In this case, of course, the Turkish army is already well organized. And they also have militias, as you know, that have been working with the Turkish army. The sixth stage is polarization, where you basically say, if you're not with us, you're against us. And the idea here is to drive all the moderates out so that anybody who could stop the genocide, say within Turkey, Turks who could stop the genocide, is declared to be a traitor. And that's happened already in Turkey.
Including some of the artists or singers, they
That's
have to
right.
go and kind of, in a way, maybe, pushed to go and
That's
support
right.
one side, right?
They've arrested over 100,000 people in Turkey and put them in prison. And they've, taken all the professors and civil servants and all the other people that they consider to be not fully loyal to Erdogan.
Right.
And they've thrown them out of their jobs or even arrested and put them in prison. And the same in the military. So that is polarization. I mean, it's classic polarization. The next stage is preparation. Preparation where you have actual planning. And that includes getting allies who will not oppose you, and in fact getting the weapons that you might need, organizing to do the genocide that you're planning. Again, this is very clear. Erdogan has been meeting with Putin from Russia, and he's also met with the leader of Iran. So you have this, I think, behind the scenes planning going on for what is going to be happening to the Kurds. Finally, and then you go into persecution, where people are literally driven out of their homes, where they may wind up being tortured and driven out of their areas and so forth. That's already happened. We've seen it in Afrin. And finally, you have extermination. You have the actual genocide. We believe that is the next stage. It's about to happen. It's already happened in small massacres, not small, of course, by the people who were affected, but massacres of, several thousand people.
Right.
It hasn't been on the scale yet of the Anfal, where 182,000 Kurds, of course, were killed. And that was very clear genocide.
So, obviously, as you said, these stages, they can happen simultaneously at the same time. So for genocide to happen, you don't have to wait until it's getting to extermination. But
That's right.
I want to take a break and come back and talk about, your organization has issued a warning. I know there are also emergency, that sometimes you issue emergency. But after this break, we'll talk about the differences and what stage, if they are corresponding to different stages in the genocide process. Stay with us. We'll be back after a short break.